Hi, this is Nanette Hosenfeld with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Wednesday, June 9th, 2021. Looking at fire potential impacts over the next 3 days. Today we're looking at some really strong winds. We'll see an area of wind gusts in excess of 50 miles an hour. That's highlighted in purple on the map. Elsewhere we'll see pretty widespread area that will have winds gusting in excess of 35 miles an hour with relative humidity below 15%. As we move into Thursday, those winds shift east, and we are looking at scattered precipitation developing across the northern part of the Great Basin. And then by Friday, no significant impacts on the map. Over the past 24 hours, there was really not much in the way of precipitation and just a little bit of lightning across the area. Fire activity has continued to increase across the Great Basin. We have several growing fires. Things are really beginning to pick up. ERCs are continuing to increase across much of the area. There's a pretty large swath of Utah in that 90 to 96th percentile range, which is really unusual for this time of year. Really notable that ERCs are this high already in June. Elsewhere across the Great Basins, ERCs are generally in that 50 to 70th percentile, with the lowest ERCs across the higher terrain of the northern part of the Great Basin. If we look at those ERC trends over time, again, just generally trending upwards. GB20 in Nevada has increased from a dip that it saw a couple of weeks ago, and GB31 in eastern Utah. Both of these areas expected to see gusty winds over the next couple of days above normal ERCs. Live fuel moistures vary across the area. You can see the site in Nevada is right around average. This is a part of Nevada that has done okay with precipitation over the past month or so. However, elsewhere across the Great Basin, where it's been much drier, live fuel moisture is well below normal. You can see both the Rosebud and Cottonwood sites in Utah below record low values. Taking a look at the drought, this is the EDDI, or the EDDI. It's a newer drought index. This responds more to more short-term drought changes. It's not a long-term index like the drought monitor that we typically look at. This is looking at the drought categories, the 1-month drought categories ending on June 3rd. And you can see those portions of Utah and western Nevada that fall into that ED0 to ED2 category. So again, just really quite dry across much of the Great Basin, especially those portions of Utah and western Nevada. This satellite this morning shows a band of clouds associated with that upper level weather system moving into the Great Basin. Here, it's maybe a little hard to see on the map. This black dot here is the coming from the Bear Fire in eastern Utah. For today, the image on the left shows our general weather pattern. We do have that upper level weather system moving into the Great Basin. That will send a cold front through that will bring some really strong winds. You can see a pretty large portion of the Great Basin highlighted for a high risk for winds today, with that combination of gusty winds, low relative humidity, and dry fuels. Now looking at those winds in more detail, the purple on the map there is 50 mile an hour wind gusts, so really quite windy conditions expected this afternoon ahead of that cold front, and low relative humidities. However, you can see across western Nevada on that relative humidity forecast that those relative humidity values are expected to come up behind the cold front. Then looking at precipitation today, anything we see will be focused across western Nevada. As we move into Thursday, that system moves through the area. The main focus of the winds will shift to eastern Utah and the Arizona Strip on Thursday. You can see that wind forecast there. Again, really gusty winds expected across portions of the Great Basin on Thursday, and low relative humidities in the area where much of those winds are expected. On Thursday, as that cold front moves through, we're expecting more widespread precipitation. That image on the right shows the areas expected to see most of the precipitation, so you can see that is focused on central northern Nevada and Idaho. So moving to Friday, maintaining more moisture across the north, really dry air across the south. Nothing on the map for significant fire potential for Friday. If we look at Friday in more detail, again, you can see we could see some elevated winds across the northern part of the Great Basin, but in those areas, relative humidities will generally be above critical levels. And as far as precipitation on Friday, it'll be mainly focused on the central Idaho mountains. Over the next 3 days, we will see some precipitation associated with that weather system moving through. It will be focused on the northern part of the Great Basin. So the southern central parts of the area, which have remained so dry, will not receive precipitation from this event. So moving to Saturday, keeping that dry air in place across the south. I'm starting to see high pressure build into the Great Basin. So moving to Sunday, expect to see temperatures warm and conditions dry as high pressure builds. And then continuing into Monday with that building high pressure and holding on to that trend into Tuesday. So looking at a pretty extended dry period into next week following the cold front and the wind through the end of this week. Over the next 7 days, no additional precipitation beyond what we'll see in the next couple of days. Finally, in the 8 to 14 day period, the Climate Prediction Center is calling for above normal temperatures for really the entire western 2/3 of the United States. For precipitation, expecting below normal precipitation across the northern and central portions of the Great Basin. Hopeful that we could start to see hints of the monsoon across the south, and that's reflected in that above normal precipitation signature across the southwest. That's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Our information is on the screen, and you can also find us on Twitter. Thanks.